Hey everyone, welcome to the results video of the Interlocking Loops ride creation contest. Now you may already guess it from the name, but in this contest all the players had to make a ride or several rides which had interlocking loops. And we got 15 entries for this round, so I will start with the entry that got last place, and not this one, and then I'll finish by announcing who is the winner of the round. Alright, in last place we have this entry from 737337. This ride is a little bit too chaotic. Well, first off, it's probably a good idea to not use such a bright palette. I mean, these colors are pretty painful to watch. As for the coaster layout, well, it's probably a good idea to go for a layout that's a little bit less chaotic, especially, for example, elements like these stacked helixes. I don't know if you've ever been on a roller coaster which had a helix, but they're actually quite boring elements, and if you just keep stacking them, it's just not a fun ride. So yeah, if I had to give some advice to 737337 would be, well, first of all, it's probably a good idea to tone down the palette a bit. Put some thought into your layouts, try to make it a little bit less chaotic, and probably the park could use some nice and less spammy decorations. But for a first contest entry, I don't think this is a bad try. Okay, here's the entry from Jericho. Sadly, I had to give him a little point penalty because his map was bigger than the maximum size. But I must say that I actually quite like the layout that he made for his interlocking loops coaster. It kind of looks like the Stingray model, but with an extra loop added over it. And yeah, it's such a simple idea, but I think it's executed in a really nice way. I quite like the layout of this ride. Also the landscaping, I think it's pretty nice. Lots of trees around here. What I would advise though is that when you place such a big amount of trees like this, it's usually a good idea, in my opinion, to bury some of the trees a little bit into the ground, and also put more of these quarter-tile pine trees in between. And doing those things will make it less like all the trees are on a grid, and it will just make it look a little bit more natural. So yeah, that would be a tip I would give to this player. So overall, I don't think this is a bad entry. Nice work. Okay, here's the entry from Tycoon Ball. Well, Tycoon Ball, he has several coasters here which interact with each other. Even looks like there's a skiff-a loop which is intertwined with a regular loop. And here's two smaller vertical loops which are also interlocked. Now, I actually gave Tycoon Ball to use a little bit less helix in the layout. It will probably make it look a little bit less chaotic in the map. And yeah, like I already said, helix are quite boring elements. If you're making a floorless roller coaster, it's really made to have inversions. I actually believe this is the vertical drop roller coaster. It's kind of difficult sometimes to see which coaster is which, because the color schemes are quite similar to one another. So probably if we, for example, change this one to fully gray and this one to fully blue. Now it's probably a little bit easier to distinguish between them. And let's see, over here is actually another interlocking loop for this ride. Now, another tip that I often give to people is to not use too many of these straight sloped sections in the track. Coasters will usually look much nicer if they flow nicely. So what I mean by that is you'll want your coasters to look curvy, like for example like this hill over here and flowing into this curved drop, or that's actually a hill. But yeah, coasters that look more curvy actually usually look much nicer. And a straight sloped section of track is just that. It's just a straight section of track. And it's generally not that appealing in a coaster. Alright, well, I believe this was Tycoon Ball's first entry for a contest. Yeah, I can't wait to see him improve and work on a second contest. Okay, here's the entry from the Cloud QC. He made this very large wooden coaster. And it's actually also synchronized for these coasters to travel through the loop at the same time. Now, in order to do that, you can actually see these wooden coasters. These trains both stop on the lift hill. Yeah, it is difficult to actually synchronize coasters well using block brakes, but yeah, it's probably a good idea to make it less obvious that they have to wait for each other. But still, the synchronization in the end is done quite well. Now, as for the lift hill, I sometimes see people make these kind of lift hills for scenario play with these curves in them and these steep sections. Yeah, it's alright if you want to do this. It just doesn't look very nice in my opinion. As for the rest of the park, you can see there's snowy weather here, a few snow patches here and there. Yeah, not much else to say about the park. Okay, here's the entry from Segundi. Yeah, just quite a simple coaster, so it's a B&M Twister. Right from the station, it does this really wide turn into the lift hill. I actually quite like we decorated the lift hill with this side friction track under it. It makes it look like it has these spikes next to the track. So simple drop into a loop, then it does a turnaround, another loop, and then after this it finally turns back to the station. Hey, just a very simple coaster, very big transfer track here. Probably could have slimmed this down a little bit. Landscaping, I think, is very nicely done. I like all the different textures used for the ground, and a nice mix of trees as well. Although maybe there are a little bit too many different kinds of trees here in the map. Maybe some extra bushes could have been nice. Maybe some extra decoration next to the path. But overall, I think the landscaping is done quite nicely. Even some buried trees here, these snowball trees. I also love burying those into the ground, because they make great looking dry bushes. Alright, here's the entry from Decoder Bunny. Lots of new players in this round, which is always nice to see. So these are actually a pair of dueling coasters, and yeah, they leave here next to each other from the station, and they meet up here in the middle at the interlocking loops. Now, I would have really liked to see these coasters actually interact in more moments during the layout, rather than only at the interlocking loops. Because yeah, right now they just really do their own thing and only meet up once. For dueling coasters, it's always nice to have at least several moments where they interact with each other. As for the layouts of these coasters, the layouts is a bit all over the place. For example, these inversions here, they look a little bit strange. Although they are quite cool. Now, well, here here the inversions strange but quite cool. Here they still have a decent speed, but these inversions here, for example, the coaster trains really crawl through them. So when you see that, it's probably a good idea to make the inversions a little bit lower, so the coaster trains have a little bit more speed through them. Now, something else which some people commented on in this park is these splash boats. They travel up over this bridge here into the mountain, and right here after they drop down, They still have quite a lot of speed, and suddenly they make a turn here, and oh yeah, you can see it in action here. It's a little bit strange for a boat to do that, especially if it has no guide track for it. So yeah, if you do make splash boats and you make them have a splashdown, at least put some straight track after it, so the boats actually have a chance to slow down before they do something else, like turns. Because this looks a little bit weird. Okay, here's the entry from Swampy. He made this pair of dueling looping coasters. Now, I actually quite like the way he did these custom supports for this pair of coasters. They are actually quite nicely done. Also, like how he decorated the lift hill here, also with this tracky texture under it. And these trains are synchronized to travel through these loops here at the same time. And here they just race around each other throughout the track. So it actually looks quite cool. Now you can actually recognize some things in this park from stuff that other people have made. So we used some stuff as an example. For example, this Christmas tree, I believe it's from an earlier entry from Pinyan a long time ago. Yeah, when you reuse stuff that other people have made, obviously some people will recognize these things. So it might be always a good idea to give them a little bit of your own twist rather than copying them. But still, I do think the Christmas tree looks very nice here in the middle of this entry. Now, as for the other rides, well, there's a cool mine train coaster here. But one thing that some people remarked was that it's actually on these supports quite high above the ground for for almost the entirety of the ride. So when that's the case, it's probably a good idea to actually make it a little bit lower. I don't think it has to be off the ground all the time. It can definitely follow the landscape a little bit more. But so overall, I think Swampy did a nice job in the park. Alright, here's the entry from Lurker. This is typical Lurker style park. It's a simple coaster on a quite a small map, but with beautiful landscaping in his style. There's lots of plants, different trees throughout the map. Some nice buildings. Well, not too many buildings in this park. You can see a few little buildings here and there. But I do really like the way Lurker made the station for the ride. It actually has quite a cool and unique design. So yeah, the coaster is sort of synchronized. I mean, usually for half of the cycles, the trains actually go through the loop at the same time, and the other half of the cycles, only one train is running through the track. Yeah, I think they're synchronized quite nicely. The trains do look a little bit long, especially for this short drop, for example. So it looks like it crawls a bit here. But overall, I think Lurker did a really nice job here. Alright, here's the entry from Dark Raider. I really like the way this coaster sits here in the landscape. This is a nice layout, nice and compact. And it's decorated quite nicely with all this mine theme scenery. Also the station of the ride is quite nice. You can also see the little building here for the transfer track. Also a nice decoration here for the lift hill. Yeah, overall I think this coaster looks pretty nice. You can also see the interlocking loops here in a different color. So that's pretty cool. And the guests would also have a nice view of the loops from over here. What I also really liked in this park is the car park here, with all these colorful cars here and a nice greenery in the parking lot. That's quite nicely done. There's also a River Rapids ride here. And I must say it has been a while since I saw a River Rapids ride using the normal River Rapids track. You don't see that very often anymore in my contests. Alright, quite nicely done from Decorator. Alright, then we have a tie for 5th place. This is the entry from Kazulius and Old School. They made this wintry landscape here. Kind of looks like a fair. Yeah, what I really like here is all these houses around the map. That's just really nicely done. It looks very nice here. That's probably one of my favorite parts of the park. So nice decoration around the outside of the map. And of course there's also a coaster here with these interlocking loops. Now I like the layout of the coaster and also the supports. But what I personally did not really like about this coaster is the dark colors that it uses. Especially with this palette. Yeah, I don't think these colors combine very well. But still, overall in the map, I do like the colors. But maybe a palette that's a little bit brighter would have worked better for the coaster, or maybe simply some different colors on the coaster. I'm not really sure myself. Well, I do really like all these houses here. They're really cool. And also one of my favorite parts of the map was this ice skating rink, which he actually used these monorail cycle, or these guests on monorail cycles for. Also a nice carousel here. So yeah, there's lots of fun and nice decorations here in this map. Alright, also in 5th place we have this entry from Monster Bugs and Technovas. They made this pair of dueling coasters here. So here they leave the station, then they both go through a booster, and then here here are the interlocking loops. And they interact over here quite nicely. Actually pop in and out of these buildings or temples over here. I think that looks really cool. Now, since they are floorless coasters, I think it would have been nice if they actually had a few more inversions along the track, rather than just helixes over here. But yeah, I guess they just weren't able to fit those in. Now, there's some really cool buildings in this map. I really like the way they did the entrance of the park. I believe this park is called Efteling Heights. So the entrance of the park is actually modeled after the entrance of the Efteling, which is a park in the Netherlands. I think they did a really nice job at it. I just love the way this looks. Also something which I really liked in their park is the way they did their Ferris wheel. This also looks really nice. I love the shape and also the colors of it. And throughout the map there's just beautiful landscaping for over here, for example. This looks great. Now they have a splash boats ride here, but yeah, some people remarked that it goes through this turn here really fast. So maybe it would have been nicer to extend this track maybe into the building a little bit, just to give it a little bit more space to actually lose some speed before it goes through the turn. But yeah, overall Technovas and Monster Bugs did a really nice job here. Okay, here's the entry from Mulpje. Mulpje made this Halo themed entry, so not really sure, but I believe these are building blocks for like a Halo ring planet, something like that. Well, you can see the coaster leave the station here. It's quite a nice layout. I actually really like the colors of this coaster. It's a nice tint of red, and actually works quite well with this tint of gray here. Maybe it would have been good to actually set a minimum wait time here, because these coasters leave the station right after one another. Yeah, like I already said, quite a nice layout for the coaster. You can see it go through this inversion here. Some nice track texture as well. A beautiful arch for the people to walk under. Yeah. What I think is maybe a little bit of a strange decision is to do the lower loop where it has the higher speed first, and then do the higher loop later. Probably better to do it the other way around. But yeah, it's just a nitpick. it still does look quite alright, the speed with which it travels through them. But generally at lower parts of the coaster, it will usually have higher speed. There was some other really cool things in this park. Probably one of my favorite parts is how this twist ride here is decorated. I really love this construction here with these cog wheels. And there's also some kind of flying ship here called a Wraith. That's also really nicely done. I don't really know what they look like, but I can imagine what this looks like in Halo. So yeah, a wonderful map from Mulpje. Alright, here's the entry from Ethan and Hobion. They made this wooden coaster with 2 interlocking loops. Now, first off, I think the landscaping in this map is just incredible. I love the shape of these cliffs and also how overgrown they are. And beautiful houses here as well throughout the map. So yeah, landscaping is incredible. And I also like how the coaster really follows the landscape here. Yeah, it just sits here over the landscape so nicely. I think Ethan and Hobian did a really nice job at that. Now, a little remark that I had about this entry. Well, you don't really see it now, but sometimes these parts of this loop really glitch out, and that's because some parts are above the water, and in Tile Inspector it looks like they've been moved under the surface. Sometimes it doesn't really show, but sometimes it's quite obvious, and then it's actually quite disturbing. You can actually see it happen right now. So you can prevent this by not putting objects under surface when they're above water. You can probably see it if we go into the Tile Inspector. Here you see it. So I think that's a bit of a shame, and easy to prevent. They actually did a neat trick here with some invisible path with jungle railings, and they actually used that to decorate these houses here. I think that's a pretty cool trick. Alright, yeah, that was the entry from Ethan and Hobion. There's just 2 entries remaining. I will first show both of them, and after that I will reveal which one is the winner of the round. Alright, here's the entry from AJ and Hex. They made this beautiful dinosaur themed entry. The ride kind of reminds me of Revolution, and it's actually called Evolution. So I think that's a really fun pun on it. I love the way these interlocking loops are situated here above the water. This would definitely be a photo spot opportunity here in the park. It's just such a nice layout for this coaster. All the track texture, I think it's really well done. Nice supports as well. I really love the way they did this tunnel here. And my favorite part of the coaster is probably actually this spot over here, where the coaster actually pops up from here in the middle of the path. It's such a little cool interaction moment. It's a really fun coaster. Now in the rest of the park you can also see all these dinosaurs made with track texture. I think they look really cool. You also have a few with where they actually put this, for example here they put a bobsleigh coaster car, and actually bobs its head up and down because it's in beginner's mode. Yeah, just such a fun trick here to use. Now these buildings here, I think they look great as well. They're just so much. It's just so much fun to go through through this park and watch all the details. I remember you can download all these parks from my Discord server. Just look in the archive. There you can find all these entries. Discord is completely free. You can find the link to my Discord server in the video description. Alright, let's move on to the final entry. Okay, here you can see the final entry. This one's from Mamarias. This entry just blew me away the first time I saw it. There's just so much nice track texture in this map, especially this clownfish here, which sits under the lift hill. The coasters interact so nicely here, and actually has 2 sets of interlocking loops. Here you can see some large loops, and here's another set with smaller loops, and they even also have some interlocking corkscrews. Yeah, it's just a lot of fun to watch this coaster go around. It's beautifully decorated. Landscaping here is done so nicely with these volcano rocks, but also all the greenery around, and it really looks like a scene that is actually underwater. Also, there's a beautiful starfish here. Here's some snails. Yeah, there's just so much cool stuff to see here. This looks like one of these hermit crabs. And of course, this thing here in the middle, the anemone, with all these tentacles and the big mouth in the middle. Yeah, just a really beautiful entry from Mamarias. Alright, it's now time to reveal which one of these 2 last entries is the winner of the round. The winner of the Interlocking Loops Ride Creation Contest is... AJ and Hex. Well, both of these entries were amazing in their own way. Mamari's entry was just full out fantasy, and this one is more of a realistic entry. Yeah, both of these entries were great, and yeah, this was just such a fun contest to watch. Lots of new players joining, which is always a nice thing. Yeah, we'll start a new contest quite soon. If you want to join one of these contests, simply become a member on my Discord server. You can find the link in the video description. Now, if you liked watching all these entries, please consider giving this video a like. It would really help out my channel. Of course, if you want to see more of these videos, you can also always subscribe. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you again in the next one. See you later.